Today, my guest is the esteemed Thomas Taylor. Thomas, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me on. I'm very well, thanks. I hope you are too.
I am having a wonderful writing day. I've spent my morning. I'm on about my fifth cup of coffee, but I exceeded my word count that I was hoping for, and I'm very thrilled with how the drafting came. So,
good.
You can't do much better for a morning than that.
No, 5 cups of coffee for a morning. That's pretty good going. That must really fuel your writing.
Yeah, it's a little shaky there, but that's what revision's for.
Yeah, absolutely. To remove the caffeine jitters, yeah.
Well, Thomas, if you wouldn't mind, give esteemed audience just kind of an overview of your background.
Yes, well, I'm an author and an illustrator of children's books, although I did begin out as an illustrator. I went to art school. I started off illustrating picture books primarily, but discovered that I enjoyed writing, mainly by starting to write picture books for myself. They're quite short texts, but I found that I enjoyed the process of writing more and more and got drawn further and further into it until eventually took a stab at trying to write older fiction, fiction for older children. Yeah, and it's been quite a bumpy road. I've had a few books published, and now my new book, Malamander, has had a great success so far in the UK and is about to be launched in the US. And yeah, it's easily my most successful book to date. So I'm excited about that. About the new prospects open before me.
Well, I have just finished it this week. I am absolutely in love with this book, and I have no doubt it's going to be a huge success.
Thank you.
So I predict it will be the most successful book ever launched in the United States. We'll see.
Oh.
But I think it's going to do very well.
I'll join you with that happy prediction, but I won't hold my breath.
I wanted to ask you something I saw when I was stalking you online that always fascinates me when I come across this. You said that reading did not come easily to you as a child. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's correct. Yes, I had trouble reading. I was slow to learn to write, I suppose. I was never diagnosed as dyslexic, but I always had a problem where my eyesight would tend to come off the written line. It would come off the ink and go down the white passages between the letters a little bit. So I used to find reading was quite slippery. I had a lot of trouble, and it put me off trying. But I had very supportive parents. My grandmother was a librarian, and she brought books all the time. And then it just suddenly clicked that even though I had to make a bit of an effort to keep my eye on the line, when I discovered what was in the book was worth reading, I became quite a voracious reader. But I think I came to it quite late. So I was probably around the age of about 12, I think, when I read The Hobbit by Tolkien for the first time, and that was probably the biggest book I'd read until that point, and just suddenly discovered just how vast and all encompassing a novel could be. I never really looked back from there, but it could easily have gone the other way because reading wasn't very easy. I could easily have just decided I wouldn't bother and do something else. But yeah, reading has not come naturally as a child.
It's a goal of mine to always keep these conversations kind of fun and professional. I never want to ask somebody, tell me your deepest, saddest secret, and then try and proceed to get them to cry. So when I ask you about your childhood, like, for example, I was terrible at singing, but I wouldn't bring that up because I'm still terrible at singing despite a great deal of effort to improve. But when I'm talking with somebody who did grow up to become an author of note, that's interesting because I want to know where that turned around for you. You said it was 12 when you're reading The Hobbit. So do you remember what it was about Tolkien specifically that brought you in? Is there anything from that time that you bring to your writing for modern reluctant readers?
That's an interesting question. I think I just loved the fantasy and the escape of being able to go into another world, and I've always been drawn to fantasy fiction or fiction that involves another world or a place to go to. But I mean, The Hobbit, even the book I'm writing now, I'm writing the sequel to Malamander. I've got my own secret writing, which is very like runic in that book, and I've deliberately been inspired to do that by The Hobbit, because of the runes in The Hobbit, and I want my own version of that. And And of course, I love to draw a map in my book. And again, Tolkien's famous for his maps. So I think there are certain books that you read at a certain time of your life that stick with you, like the stories of Sherlock Holmes, for example. I read those shortly afterwards, and of course they sort of tend to float around and inform everything else you do from there on. And I think it's the things you read and enjoy when you're around that middle grade age that are the things that really stick with you, which is probably why writing for middle grade is such an exciting prospect. You can play a part in that up for somebody else. It's pretty exciting.
What is it about writing for children that most appeals to you?
Well, I think it's just that, really. It's the fact that you can. I want to open that up for other people in the way it was opened up for me. And also, I just feel that when you write for children, you can write a big open world, and you can write about hope, and you can write about things that maybe for an adult audience you have to sort of wind back on, because adults expect, I think adults tend towards cynicism and tend to be world weary and maybe aren't going to accept some of the things. But children, their minds are open, they're curious, world is wonderful, and I think it's good to teach children that the world is big and to be explored, and that being curious is good, being kind is good, and that hope is something to aspire to. And so it is very exciting to write for that age. And I have written a YA novel, and it was the same, but it was just slightly crimped. I had to make the YA tone. I just felt like I was shrinking things a little somehow. I can't really explain it better than that. And then when I went back to writing middle grade again, everything tends to become expansive once more. So I don't know quite what I mean, but I think I know what I mean.
Well, we're talking about Hauntings, right? As your young adult novel?
Yes, Haunters. Yes, that's right. That was my that was a YA novel I wrote, which was published in the US as well. When was that? 2012. And I still hear about it. People still write to me about it. I still occasionally hear from people who really loved it and want to know why there isn't a sequel and everything. And what can I say? I'm not sure the YA tone really suits me. That's part of the answer. I think middle grade, that 9 to 12 slot is just, it just feels right for me to write for that.